Good evening. My name is Breanna Wilkerson, and I'm the chapter founder for GlobeMed at Spelman College. Black feminist, author, poet, and revolutionary Audre Lorde once said, "If I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies for me and eaten alive." I use the words of Audre Lorde to guide my own story of self and provide insight into the ways in which my intersectional narrative informs my self-politics. As a parentless, low-income, first-generation student of color, my life experiences have often been rooted in being told what I could not do because of my identity. Whether it was my high school counselor saying that I couldn't attend college due to being the poor girl from the south side of Houston with no parents and no money, or my current dream college education constantly being jeopardized due to my inability to afford it semester after semester. Whether the instance or circumstance, I know that these experiences are individual microaggressions to a historical and structural exclusion of poor Black and brown voices at the table where decisions are being made about people like me. So what does this mean for me as a chapter founder of GlobeMed at Spelman? Is it possible for me to advocate against food insecurity and poverty in Kumasi, Ghana, and still not have a secure meal and housing myself? Is it possible to advocate for an equitable healthcare infrastructure in Kumasi, Ghana, while domestically being denied treatment for my own chronic illness? What if I'll never have the $300 to buy a plane ticket to a fancy panel discussion like this without sacrificing tomorrow's meals? Is there room for someone like me in global advocacy? These are not exaggerated hypothetical analogies. This is the reality of millennials in our era who are wealthy in our minds, yet are marginalized due to our empty pockets. So my realities drive me to ask, what's going on? What's wrong with this? As millennials, believe it or not, we are living in the diversity era, where top companies, organizations, universities are very interested in diversifying their spaces, which is cute, but ineffective if not administered properly. So as a millennial color, like I said, at a historically Black college in Atlanta, I've been a participant in a lot of these diversity initiatives and models. Unfortunately, many of these create a climate rooted in tokenism and exclusion, clouding true, radical, and progressive thought. So what do I mean when I say that? So there's different versions and models of diversity. One of the models of diversity is academically coined as snowflake diversity model, which is the idea that because all individuals, just like snowflakes, are unique, we should not pay attention to group-based differences in any meaningful way. And then we have colorblind diversity model, which Nick kind of pointed to, in which individuals with different race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, class, cultural background, all of that information is irrelevant because all that matters is that the person can do the job. This one-size-fits-all model is very problematic, and voices usually go unseen and unheard. So how do we shift into a new model of diversity? In my opinion, I'm no expert, but I think what we really need is a breakthrough. The first thing I believe we need to do is check our privileges. At a discussion last week at the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Dr. David Williams from Harvard University said, "Racial prejudice in the US is as natural as breathing." I believe we have to take a deep look inside ourselves and acknowledge that as humans, we are all prejudiced beings. We are respectively privileged by our race, ethnicity, class, age, sexual orientation, or even ability to be in this room today. We have to ask ourselves, who is not at the table and why? Is it funding? Is it lack of critical recruitment, or what? Next, in marking our own privileges and decentering ourselves, we will be able to construct a model of critical diversity, which means equal inclusion. This is a model that holds accountability, authority, and expertise at its core, and strides towards structural policies and practices that have historically excluded and marginalized different groups. I believe that it is the critical diversity model that will create a climate of psychological safety conditions. I'll say that again. That will create a climate of psychological safety conditions where people can be themselves. Because at the end of the day, I truly think that's what's going on now. People currently don't feel safe to be themselves in all spaces. This means that our freedom and progression as a people is rooted in removing all shackles of bondage from the historically excluded. My name is Breanna Wilkerson, and my humanity is tied to yours.